Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out Walk by developer Kavik for the Mini LD43 contest. This is a tinier version of the LDs that we often cover games from. This one has a more casual, lax atmosphere, and this one in fact has two themes. Music influenced gameplay and dreams, and I think this is probably a pretty nice confluence of the two. This was sent in a request by a viewer, and I think it's actually very cool. It's really just tranquil, relaxing, soothing kind of little experience where we're just going to wander around in a field for a while and see if we can find an orb and enjoy some lovely music and some great visuals also. So let's just jump right into things. This is going to be a pretty short episode. I have a feeling there's not a whole lot to see here, but what's here is very pretty. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the obvious similarity to the game Flower, at least in the fact that we've got these rolling, soothing, tranquil hills. It's probably fairly obvious, and most of us would make the connection. So really, there's this scope of a rolling depth of field sensation going on, and then some very enjoyable, soothing music playing, as well as a tree in the center that I can't quite understand what it's doing. It seems to be flailing about a little bit, and sometimes things get very blurry. But, you know, it is a dream, and I think this perfectly conveys a dreamlike atmosphere. Notice, of course, also that in essence, aside from just having the blades of grass that seem to be wafting in the wind, we've also got what appears to be like rolling cloud cover going overhead, even though I don't really see much cloud cover. There's a couple dots up there, but it looks like shadows being cast across the landscape. And also some minor color changes going from a more sage green to a deeper blue, and back and forth. So, I mean, really all we're going to be doing here is just exploring, looking for this orb, which will bring the exploration to a halt and end the game. But for now, it's a very enjoyable, soothing experience to walk around in. Just watching all of these blades of grass move like that at the same time can be very transfixing and definitely put you in a bit of a trance. And you watch from a distance. Whoa, what was that? A giant ball went flying by. Every time it gets really all hazy like that, it definitely makes me feel like I want to go to sleep. Kind of a strange feeling to get from such a quick motion. I almost feel like this would be well done to be put into actually like slow motion occasionally, sometimes have time actually slow down. I do wish there was something other than just this white surface under the grass though. I'm not sure if that's really something that's easy to do necessarily, because I know the developer did mention in the notes and the comments of the LD page for this that there's a reason that it needed to be white, for aesthetics, I suppose. But I think it would be kind of neat if it somehow worked a little bit more like an actual landscape that was shaded or something like that. So, did we just wander in a big circle here? I definitely got a little bit off track as we were wandering around. I'm not sure if we were just going over a hill and back to the hill again. No, I'm pretty sure this tree's in a slightly different place, and last time I booted this up to do the sound check, there was definitely a different object in the center instead of that tree. Looked more like a bunch of wispy, white, I'm not even sure what to call them, tendrils, I suppose. And I haven't run across that sort of an object yet. What's going on over here? We've got these vast hills of white. Maybe this is the reason we wanted the landscape to be white. Right, because it looks like the grass is just populating onto those hills. That is really quite stunning to look at. And this would serve as a really lovely base for a bigger expanse of gameplay if there happened to be more going on, and the developer wanted to turn this into something more like Journey, maybe. I imagine the white hills could be very easily substituted with some glittering sand dunes, or who knows what else. I'm sure you could also make some pretty psychedelic rainbow colors happen across the grass, and in fact, if this is something that was easy enough to edit, that might be something I'd be interested in playing around with, just to see what you could make happen. Soundtrack, of course, very lovely as well, and it definitely does set the tone. It really does just sort of bring you right in to an ethereal, otherworldly type of feeling. And I think I saw those tendrils. There they are, off in the distance there. Feels like we're listening to a bedtime story or something. It's just so soothing. Or maybe a music box, perhaps. Let's check out these, whatever they are, these white branches. See if there's anything going on over here. Yeah, there's a lot of really pretty screenshots to be had, especially with these stark white structures and then the depth of field effect. This game is like basically like Instagramming itself. Just sort of want to look up into the sky and just enjoy some of these little moments you can set up from it. Of course, the contrast is fairly apparent too, that there is a bit of a similarity to something like Proteus, which always seems to bring us back to the "are these games" discussion that never ends. I don't feel really all that compelled to get into that today, but I have talked about it a bit in the past, so if you want to go check out my Proteus video, the original one, although I did two, feel free to go check that out. I'm always curious to know people's take on it, but I think largely, for the most part, my opinion now is just sort of like, it really doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, I won't actually get into it, having just said that I won't get into it. So I haven't seen any hints that there might be an orb around, and I wonder if this goes on forever in any direction. Or if maybe it's timed, like if you've wandered long enough, maybe your chances of running into the orb will become higher as you go. Yo, what is up with that? It's like a crazy golf ball that shoots by all of a sudden. Oh, is this a different tree over here? I'm gonna check this out. There's a number of ways that you could leverage the idea of using procedural generation for something like this, where it can all happen seamlessly and you won't even know what's going on. Like I just suggested, perhaps, that after you've explored for long enough, or as the music starts to loop, something like that maybe could raise the chances of you running into a hill that might contain the game-ending sphere, or perhaps the sphere could just relocate at any given moment based on where you happen to be. Oh, this is really pretty. I actually didn't even notice, like, the texture on these bits of foliage. It looks sometimes a little bit like it's a little bitmappy, but other times it looks almost cel-shaded when you put it up against the shading going on the limbs. And I really love the bleached out, sort of blown out lighting coming from wherever the light source happens to be. I'm not really sure I know, actually. It always seems to be on whatever side I'm not facing. Or is that not true? That may not be true at all. Okay, it does seem to be from this side. But yeah, it completely obfuscates any detail in these branches. It's just sort of, it just bleaches it right out. It's kind of pretty, actually. Definitely gives you that dreamlike atmosphere. Did the clouds just turn into squares? Is that really what just happened? That's quite nice. Oh, you know what? They may not have turned into squares, they may just not have had their depth of field effect on them, I think is probably the case. So keep wandering a bit more. I'm feeling like I should probably run into this ball at some point now. But I'm definitely enjoying my time here. I would really enjoy it more, though, if there were some other things to see, just that you would wander into by accident. Just occasional little events, perhaps, or maybe a totally different colored area. And you probably don't want to have the depth of field effect linger on the player for too long. I understand that it definitely does aid in the dreaminess and the ethereality, is that a word? I don't think it is, of the whole experience, but maybe just put a little bit of a border around the player, maybe a little bit of a sphere that says the depth of field effect can't happen within this range, or if it does, it only happens for a very short period of time. I almost feel like I could just walk off the edge of this landscape and onto the tops of some clouds. Wouldn't really mind that either. Maybe as you walk long enough, do sort of a crossfade, and you realize the grass was actually a series of clouds the whole time. They could be T-shaped, they could be square-shaped. We'll let that be up to you guys, but just an option, I suppose. I'm still looking for the biggest, most illustrious trees here. I'm sure that this one might be it. Well, I'm not sure that it might be it. I have a feeling this is it, actually. Just watching the ground appear around us. Very nice. I also imagine you could very easily intermingle some narrative elements throughout this if it was really desired. Check out the shadowing on the grass effect as well. I think that's a really lovely thing. Weird when it gets too tall, too, because then you can't really see very far ahead of you. Everything sort of looks like a shag carpet over here. Also reminds me a little bit of like a Pixar movie or something when they go for that like hyper-realistic, like hyper-textural maybe is more the word I'm looking for. effect to give the feeling of like something looking really fuzzy and really tangibly like touchable. Seems sort of like what we're going for here. Have I reached a point where I can't climb anymore? It seems like these might be a little too steep. Still trying to make my way up. Yeah, okay, I think I have found my way through. Well, if the sphere is only in a certain place, I imagine that I have wandered far, far out of its range. But if it is going to auto-adjust and correct itself, or maybe if this place is actually just closed in on all sides, maybe I will end up turning around in a moment. Almost feels like a little bit of a wasted opportunity that there doesn't seem to be some sort of a day-night cycle or like a completely photorealistic sky. Not that what's there is bad or anything, but it would be kind of neat to see the contrast of the very surreal-looking grass up against a totally naturalistic-looking sky. And I'm wondering if there's any hints to lead me towards the direction of this orb. So far it looks like I'm just sort of wandering away from it, wherever it may be. It doesn't seem like there's anywhere else to go in that direction. It's a bit of a dead end. Very interesting pattern, seeing the clouds be totally square like that. Reminds me a little bit of the textured patterns that I would see on everything in Box Life. It's another video you might want to check out, a pretty interesting one at that. Alright, so now I'm just hopping for some reason. I just do this a lot of time. I feel like it makes me move faster. I'm sure you all have that tendency yourself, right? As you play through games where you're wandering through large expanses of terrain. For example, something like Hyrule Field in Ocarina of Time, you start to roll a lot because it just makes you feel like you're accomplishing your goal a little bit faster, more efficiently. Maybe not everybody does that, but I do. Funny how we've sort of trained ourselves as gamers of various stripes to perform these little actions that may or may not have any real consequences, but they make us feel like we're doing better. Sometimes they do actually make a totally tangible consequence, the fact that you can cut off 30 seconds by doing a certain action many times. Now, what's going on over here? Have I reached the end of the world? Oh, it looks like I may have. Yeah, alright, we've got boxes and sky below us. So that means the sphere has spawned somewhere within a certain distance from where I am, and it is probably not going to be moving. Now, if I can just find the highest peak here to stand up on top of, there's a chance that maybe I'll just run into some sort of evidence that maybe I'm near it. And now that I see where the edge is, that certainly helps. Definitely the kind of game that you could see easily working well with just going on forever. You could even just give the illusion of it going on forever. Find where the edges are and just put a permanent blur effect on them and have it blur to such a degree that as you get closer to them you can't even tell if you're still going in the direction of the edge anymore. Eventually the player will probably get turned around and walk away. I don't know, it's a way I haven't really seen people try to control user movement. I always feel really slighted when a game dev takes the idea of, like, they don't want you to go this way, so they just literally stop you and say you can't go this way anymore, or if you walk too far, you just instantly die for no reason, or if you walk too far, a black screen comes up and says, we're turning you around now. I mean, these are all things that we've all run into in various game situations. A lot of times in very linear shooters seems to come up very frequently. But for something like this, I would say you definitely don't want to take such a guided approach. You definitely want to let the player be more in control of their own actions. At least that would be my opinion anyway. So we've certainly wandered quite the expanse of hills here, and I think it's a very lovely experience. We could definitely use with a little bit more diversity, but this was designed, I think, in just 48 hours, so I can't really fault anyone for the lack of diversity in that case. But it's something that I would absolutely love to see developed more, and I would love to see more put into this, more meat to the game, I'd say. And I know, I said the word game. Let's not get up in arms about it. Anyway, I don't seem to be running into the exit, but I'm sure that's fine, and I'm sure one of you guys out there will. Of course, this is totally free. I will link the web links for this. There's an ability to play this either as a download, or if you just want to play it in browser, that's also something that can be done, so you definitely should check it out. This seems like the type of game, if you're like having trouble sleeping or something, you could just kind of wander around for a while until you start to feel your eyes getting a little heavy. Also would make an absolutely lovely screensaver, and I know I haven't said this in a while, but I used to say it quite frequently. For any of these games where you just wander, and it sort of seems like you could go on forever, We don't have enough good screensavers out there in the world. I know that's a thing that probably people don't really care too much about anymore, but I would definitely enjoy watching this go by when I'm not really using my computer. If I just happen to glance over and see this, definitely make me smile a little bit. I don't know about you guys. Anyway, I guess we will wrap things up at this point. I think we've pretty much seen what we need to see out of Walk, and I definitely enjoyed the experience. I hope you guys will as well, and I hope you'll give it a try. And of course, please do let me know your feedback right here in the comments, or of course over at the developer's LD page, which will be in the links. I'm sure the developer will enjoy them either way, if he finds himself over here, or he or she actually, I'm not sure. Either way, I'm sure it'll be useful. Oh, the mountain looked particularly tall over there. Oh, look at this. You got a little summit, perhaps, with a tree up on top. Isn't that lovely? So yeah, I guess we'll wrap up this episode. If you guys haven't already, please feel free to go check out the website, indie-impressions.com, for more episodes in the series. Got over 450 games now that I've covered in video form, and I'd be honored if you guys would come check those out with me and let me know your feedback on them. Even going back a year now, there are still plenty of games that are absolutely worth discussion and worth bringing up from time to time, and definitely are very unique and beautiful experiences. So please do go check those out. They're all sortable, searchable, and genre tagged. Pardon my tongue there. Aside from the Indie-Impressions site, though, I've also got a Facebook page for the series called facebook.com/IndieImpressions, so if you'd like to leave a like over there, it just takes a moment. It does help me out, and then you'll get every day's new videos delivered right into your Facebook stream, as well as any news updates or when I go live for a stream, or just general, contests or game giveaways and such. I also do have a Twitter handle, which is @RockLeeSmile, so you can feel free to follow me over there if you haven't already. Join in, any discussions that might pop up, or if I happen to be tweeting about industry stuff, or occasionally I'll even let people know when I go and do a free-to-join game, so you can possibly hang out with me and have a fun time. I don't know. It's possible. It happens. Not nearly frequently enough, though. It's something I'd like to do on the regular, but time constraints and all that. Anyway, I also do welcome any suggestions, so if you guys would like to, please feel free to shoot me over any recommendations for games that I should cover on the show, or if you're an indie dev and you'd like to recommend your game for the show, feel free to send over a preview build or any kind of, whatever kind of build you got going on, over to my email, which is a contact form over on indie-impressions.com. And this was actually submitted by a viewer, so feel free to recommend stuff in case something passes me by. It does happen, although I do try to cast my net pretty wide and pick up on pretty much anything that's going on. I just totally missed this mini LD43 competition, so I'm glad this was brought to my attention. I may have to go back and check out some of the other stuff there as well. Totally amazed I still haven't found the ball by now. It's pretty well hidden. But the walk was enjoyable, so that is going to do it, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. Please do come back again tomorrow. I do a new episode every single day without exception, so I'd love to see you back here again. Tell a friend if you don't mind, and let me know what you think of this game in the comments below. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow, and I hope you have a lovely night. Later.